Hey, we're back. Well, I'm back. I hope you're back too. So let's talk about our fourth and final biomolecule, macromolecule, organic molecule, like macromolecule that we're going to talk about, nucleic acids. You know what this is without even knowing. They're the largest known macromolecule. They're made of thousands of these little subunits called nucleotides. I think that makes it easy to remember what the monomer or building block is because it looks similar, nucleic acid and nucleotide. And there are two major types of nucleic acids that you probably already know, DNA and RNA. And we'll talk about their function and stuff. And hopefully it will be able to tie all these organic molecules together. They'll have their own function in us that's going to keep us alive and working. I know my head's a little bit in the way here, but we can see what we need to see. So nucleic acids, their job basically is to store information. They're the blueprint for us, for all life that we know of. And DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Remember in the carb video, I said we'd talk about deoxyribose? Look here, it's a sugar. Remember we talked about sugars in the carb video? They're the building blocks of carbs. Well, here we see them part of the building block of something else, the building block of nucleic acid. When they're combined with this phosphate group and a nitrogen base, they form a nucleotide. RNA is ribonucleic acid, RNA. So the different sugars, deoxyribose and ribose, are what makes these two molecules different. They have a different sugar in their nucleotide. The parts of the nucleotide are the sugar, which I learned this forever ago. Think of it like baseball. Here we have someone standing on home plate, and that's the sugar. They're holding a ball in their hand up in the air because they caught it. That's the phosphate. And then their other arm, it's not shaped like it. It's usually shaped like this, which kind of looks more like a mitt. But in their other hand, they've got their glove to be like, I caught the ball. And, they stop the runner from getting to home plate. That's the nitrogen base. So each one of these, you can see this is its own unit, a nucleotide. Here's another nucleotide. Here's a third nucleotide. What makes you and I different? The only thing that makes us different is the order that these bases go in. There's 4 bases. In DNA, there are 4 bases. We just call them A, T, C, and G. It stands for adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. But the order that these bases go in is the only thing that makes any of us different from anyone else. And to be honest with you, the vast majority of these thousands and thousands, actually it's billions of bases, the only difference, we're like 99% the same here. Maybe 1%, probably not even different in the order of our bases is what makes us different and gives us all the variety of people that we see on the planet. Or all the variety of life. The reason I'm different from my plant that's in the corner is the order of these bases and how many there are. Now, we have some in common, but not a lot because it's a plant, not an animal. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. So what's the deal with these parts? So nucleotides, they have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. I'm seeing a theme. They have phosphate group. So they have a P. They also have nitrogen in the nitrogen base. So the elements that make up a nucleotide, the basic building block of a nucleic acid, are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Chomp. It's like chomp, but with an N. Those are the elements that make that up. And the bases, remember they are A, T, C, and G. And RNA has sort of like a pinch hitter. I think instead of thymine, it has uracil. I think of it like this. The next Super Bowl champs, the Buffalo Bills, they have their quarterback Josh Allen. Okay, and there's no substitute for him. But some other lesser team, they have their quarterback. And then if he gets injured or he wants to, they're winning the game, they're going to put in a substitute. And he's still the same position, still the quarterback, it's just a different guy. Okay. And so that's uracil. In RNA, uracil is sort of the second string, I guess, for thymine. And the order that these letters, these bases that we find them in, that determines what living thing we're looking at, and it determines just the different traits we see. So here we can kind of see that. So we see here A and T match up, C and G match up. By the way, I think of it like this. Apples in the tree and car in the garage. Or when I was much younger, I used to think, oh, well, A and T are pointy letters, so the pointy letters go together. And C and G are round letters, so the round letters go together. Whatever helps you remember that. So the order of these determines our traits. Well, how? We're going to have to, we're going to get there. And it's, once you like hear it, you're like, oh, okay. You can think of DNA as storing the genetic information of most living organisms. And in us, because we're focusing really on humans, we have 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. Why do we kind of talk about pairs? Why not just say 46? Well, remember, to produce like a new human, you need a mom and a dad. So we say 23 pairs because one set comes from a mom, one set comes from a dad. They come together to form a pair, 46. That's where we get our chromosomes from. They come from our parents. The DNA, okay, how do I want to describe this? You know how, like, at the end, if you put up Christmas lights, or you've seen someone put up Christmas lights, you ever take them down, you're like, well, I could fold these really nice, or I could just sort of throw them in there. If you have the Christmas lights folded up really nice and everything, you can think of that like a chromosome. It's a nice package of DNA. It's not just spilled out all over. It's much easier to organize and work with the DNA when it's in a package. It's easier for the DNA to be moved from one cell to the next when it's in a package. We call that package a chromosome. And on each chromosome, we have genes. And a gene is part of our DNA that codes for a trait. Now look, it codes for a single protein. Remember when I told you in the protein video that we have amino acids, and the first part of their structure is the order that the amino acids come in. Well, who's telling them what order? How do they know what order to go in? That's your DNA code. Your code says, build this protein in this way. For example, one of the proteins that most humans have is melanin. Unless you are albino, which means you don't produce melanin at all, your body produces melanin. And so there's a gene in our DNA that says, okay, pick out these amino acids, send them to the ribosome, which is the protein factory, and it's going to build and fold up a protein, and we call that pigment melanin. Some people, their DNA says produce a lot, and they have darker color skin. Some people, their DNA says don't produce that much, and they have lighter color skin. And some people, that gene is missing or broken, and they don't produce melanin at all. Those people we would call albino. So that's just an example of how this code works. DNA is the code. What's the code for? Protein. It says use these amino acids in this order, like spell this word this way, F-U-N-C-T-I-O-N, function. Then once it gets to the protein factory, it gets made and folded up, bam, there it is. And all those proteins together end up making us look the way we do and have the body structures that we do internally and externally. Amazing, amazing. That's when we need to know about these things, and we need to know how they go together. At some point, we'll talk a tiny little bit about protein synthesis, so how protein is made from DNA. We'll get into like more of a detail. I kind of did, but I don't want to really get into that just yet. RNA is what's involved in protein synthesis. It's like a messenger. So DNA has the whole code, but here I have my whole book, for example, my whole DNA code, let's pretend. Well, this is my book. I don't want it to go anywhere. I need it in case I need to use it as a reference. But what if I need to like grab some information from here? What if I need to take this home and I got to look at something when I'm at home? Well, I could make a copy of one page. I could go to the copy machine, go doop, and make a copy. Or what if I wanted to make a copy for everyone in class? I could go doop and make one copy. I still have my whole book. The whole book is intact. I have all my instructions, all my information here, but then I would have a copy, another page that could tell me, okay, well, here's what that one page said, and I can take it anywhere and do whatever I want with it, and if I have to throw it away, well, I can always make another. I have the book. That's what RNA is. RNA is the copy I made in the copy machine. There are 3 types in the cell. Messenger RNA, the copy. rRNA, that's ribosomal RNA. It makes part of the ribosome, which is the protein factory. And tRNA, transfer RNA, which brings the correct letter, the correct amino acid over to the factory. I'm trying to think if I really want. I'm just going to summarize this now. You've read about stuff in your book. So I just kind of want to summarize a little bit, and then I'll get more into detail of protein synthesis at another time if we need to. So here's our messenger RNA. Think of it like putting the dollar into the snack machine. That's how it goes into this green thing. That's the ribosome. The messenger RNA is like a super long dollar, and it's going zoop into this ribosome. So the ribosome reads it like the machine reads the dollar. And the messenger RNA is saying, okay, here's the code for arginine, here's the code for methionine, here's the code for isoleucine, grab those. Okay, I've got them, and put them together. I will link you guys to a video. I will do my best to remember to put it below this video. I will link 1 or 2 videos to show you this happening. And see, look how the protein's kind of growing, and it's kind of like folding and twisting, and then folding in on itself and completes. And just like we talked about in the protein video. Well, here's how it actually forms. The messenger RNA goes into this protein factory called a ribosome, and it tells the ribosome, grab these amino acids in this order. And it does. And that's all there is to it. So let's go back. What are the elements? CHONP, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus. Examples are DNA and RNA. Their functions, they store your information. They are the blueprint, the code to make you. And they're the messenger that says, here's the code. This is what you need to make protein factory. This is what you need to make ribosome. And their monomers or building blocks, they're called nucleic. Nope. They're called nucleotides. Nucleic acids are the big. Nucleotides are the building block. Sorry. Sometimes when you talk and you're on video, you just start talking really fast. And you don't have an editor, so yeah, I don't have video editing software. Well, I hope that helps understand the nucleic acids, and I hope all 4 of these videos helped you understand these macromolecules. Next in the playlist, you'll be seeing videos about the cell and basic cell functions. And I hope this was helpful about macromolecules, and I'll see you soon.